Good evening, everyone. I hope you're hearing me now. And we're lined up, ready for the first of 4 TNT races in the TNT Omnium tonight. There's not a big crowd. I think people are leaving it a bit late to join, but we've got 4 races coming up for you tonight. The first one is a simple scratch race. Often at track, we warm up with a nice little scratch to just get everyone going. Race 2 is a random dash. I'll explain a bit more about that later on. Race 3 is a time trial. And race 4 is a points race. Well, an RGT version of a points race. Always a very confusing race if you ever watch it on track. We have a slightly simpler version. We've got about 3 minutes now until start time. And I see some of the riders are leaving it right to the last minute to join. So I'm going to start giving them a briefing online. I always have to explain the races to people. Well, the scratch race is not so difficult. That's pretty simple. It's a normal race, drafting. This first race tonight is modeled on the finish of Milan San Remo, the spring classic, the spring monument. We take it essentially from the top of the Poggio. If you've ever watched the race, that's the decisive part of the race, and go downhill, mostly downhill to the finish. There's a couple of lumps. There is a reason we don't normally do this on a scratch race. Normally I use a crit circuit, about a kilometre, kilometre and a half long, mile long. And sometimes we use some of the fantasy circuits. But there is a reason for doing this straight one tonight, which is to do with the second race, the random dash. The random dash is where people are grouped together, and the grouping depends on the order of joining the server. So when they finish this race and go to the second race, we'll determine who they're paired with in groups of 3, or trioed with, I'm not sure what the word is, in groups of 3 for the random dash. It's a staggered start, but it has drafting on. So it's a bit of luck as to who you get together with in your group. Could be someone strong who drags you along. Could be someone weak and you just try and sprint out to the next group or catch a wheel that's passing by. That's the random bit of it. So we now have about 1 minute. We've got 17 riders on the line now, or 15, including the cameras. And who do we see there? Paul Watmer, always very strong. Kevin Unsworth, another very strong rider. Flemming Vark from the Danish group. We normally have a strong Danish contingent here. Flemming Vark is there. He is a strong contender for the overall Omnium. The Omnium, if you're not familiar with that, is worked out on the best placing across the 4 races. So if you were to say come first, second, then you would score 1 + 2 + 1 + 2. So your total would be 5. And that's how, so the placing of across the 4 is how it's decided for the Omnium. We always have 4 races, but we vary them around a bit. So we're lining up now. We've got 4 seconds to go for the race. I see some red bars and off we go. And I need to come down and I need to see what's happening in the commentary, in the racing. Just let me join someone. Sorry. I'm trying to watch what's happening. There we go. Okay, sorry, I'm just getting up. So now we've got a decent group ahead as we come to the first of the downhills. There's Jason, PDQ coach, in the leading group there, Kevin Unsworth. So there's a group of, I think most of the riders, at least a dozen riders, are all together now. Kudlika is another of our regulars. What mile there? Some of this, the trick of this, although it's a downhill, there are quite a few corners, so people have to be clever and technical about coming out the corners and powering out of them. So very much like a crit race. So we've still got a big group here. What's that? 12, 13 riders. So most of the bunch still together, which is exactly what I planned on this. There's a longish flat. About half the race at the end is flat. So they've done 1 kilometre now. They've got 4.6 kilometres to go. The last, I think, about 2.5 kilometres are fairly flat as you come into, well, if you've ever seen the race, it's along the seafront in San Remo. So now as we've done, coming up to 1.3 kilometres, nearly a mile, still all the big names still together. Fleming Bach, Rasmus Felddahl is there. Another strong Danish rider. We've got a few Danes there, some names I don't recognize. Antonsen, Frank Ayro, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. One of the French riders. A few Brits as well. Chris Little there with the Antarctica flag. So still all together. I don't expect this to break up too much, although there is coming up just about now a little lump. And it'll be up to who can power over that lump. Sometimes you can get a bit of a gap here. So I see Jason's prepared for that. There you can see some of the bars going red as we push over. But if they can push over quickly, there we go. They're over the lump now. Hopefully people will be able to get back on as we come down this next descent. Although with the new physics, the physics that was updated a few weeks back in RGT, a lot of people think that that's made it harder to catch people on some of the descents. So a little bit of a gap, a few meters, but it doesn't look like it's changing very much. We've still got a big group of about a dozen people. So hopefully they'll be able to hang on to those wheels, but they're pushing it at the front there. Jason, Rasmus, Kudlika there, pushing it at the front. They've got a bit of a gap, 8-9 meters up. There comes Fleming, Soren Kroh, and a few of the others to catch up with them in that little corner there. So we're coming down now. We've got one more little descent to go. Got the corners and then a little bit more descent, and then we head into the flat towards San Remo. Right about now, you would probably be starting to see the sea, but not here. We need that as a skin. In the real Milan San Remo, this is the descent from the, as I said, from the Poggio. It's very twisty, a lot of hairpin turns. Often if a rider gets even a 20-second gap over the Poggio, they can carry that all the way to the end, because it's very difficult for a group to catch up on the descent of the Poggio, and a lone rider can often push away, take corners with a little bit more bravery, if that's the word, or foolishness, and get away and keep that gap going along the flat. So we're over halfway now. We've got about just over 2 kilometers to go. The bunch is still mostly together. One more little rise here, but it's only an orange one, so it shouldn't trouble anybody. And then they'll be into the final 2 kilometers. We'll see the flag fairly soon. And we've still got, I think, about a dozen in this group. So it's going to be a sprint finish, I think, for sure. There's Fleming trying to get away on that, just taking advantage of that small rise there. It wasn't a big one, but Fleming and Rasmus have powered away. They've got a 30-meter gap all of a sudden with 1.8 kilometers to go. I don't know if they could hold that. It's gone up to 40 meters now. So they could hold that all the way to the end. This is the sort of gap that in real life a rider can hold. Quite often the finish of Milan San Remo is a very thrilling finish. And this is about all you need if you've got a strong group coming off the Poggio to get all the way to the finish. So Rasmus and Fleming, a Danish duo, dynamic Danish duo, going all the way to the finish line, it looks like. Yep, I think they've got now a 60-meter gap. I don't think it's 80 meters it's gone out to, so they're pushing ahead, powering big watts there, 6 watts per kilo. I think Fleming's now realized that they don't need to push it all that way. They've got 1.3 kilometers to go, and the rest of the bunch is going to sit behind and wait. So that could mean that for the second race that Rasmus and Fleming are together in the random dash, and that will be another very strong pairing there. I wonder if they thought about that when they planned this. So behind them now we have the rest of the bunch. going down all the way, all those names on the list still in that front bunch there and still in with a chance for third place. So Fleming and Rasmus. In the last half a mile, that's 800 meters now for Fleming and Rasmus. The others are going to be lining it up to think about taking places. So in the Omnium, every place counts. It doesn't matter that you're, in that bunch. If you can finish third in this bunch and somebody at the end of the bunch, even a couple of seconds behind or half split second behind, finishes 11th, then you've effectively made up 8 places on them in the overall Omnium. So it's really important to fight for every position in the Omnium so that your placing your placing is good at the end of the day. So now we're coming up to the last 400 meters. Rasmus is pushing it now. I think the agreement between the two riders is obviously broken down. Rasmus is going to push ahead. Fleming seems to be content to let him go. Fleming's going to be sitting there for second place. Rasmus is heading now towards the line. He's going to take a very clever first place. That was a very good move from them to get away with about 2.5 kilometers to go. Fleming crosses the line there, and here we are winding it up at the end. There's Frank, there's Kutluga, there's Jason. Oh, didn't quite see. Frank got it. Wow, that was a close one. I'll check on the gaps in a minute. And here comes Kevin, who is, I think, quite a strong rider, but seems to have probably got distance on that one of those corners. And once you've lost the bunch, there's not much you can do about that. So Kevin coming in now. We've got, I think it's Jeff, if I'm correct, or it might be Jason Goldberg, coming in 13th place. And another Dane who I've not seen in these races before, Hansen, who's going to come in 14th. So that will be our placing. We've got about 8 minutes to go until the next race. So our last rider just coming in now. As I said, this was sort of the point of this race, was to try and keep everybody together so that we could have a nice grouping and a little bit of mixing it around for the random dash. So Hansen's going to cross the line now, and we'll be able to go to the next race. So there we go, there's the results on screen. I think it hasn't quite updated with Hansen's results there. So we had Rasmus Feldball in first place, Fleming Bark easing off at the end there to take a clear second with no one behind him. Frank Airo in third place, very, very close. So what's that? 0.2 of a second. Seem to be even closer than that, ahead of Jason and Hakan Kutluka. I'm sure he was under a German flag. I'm sure I've seen Hakan here before under a Turkish flag, I thought, but maybe. Wow, that's really close. Both, what's that, 0.1 of a second between Jason and Hakan, and not much more back to Paul Watmel. So a very close bunch finish there. So I'm going to skip across to the second race, race 2, the random dash, and join the event to give them a briefing. So dash is often used in track racing. It's not in the Olympics or world competitions, but if you're near a track, there's often track league and things like that go on. It's one of the things that we use sometimes in track league and some of the weekend or weeknight competitions that are on a track. It's usually like a 3-lap dash. This is a 3-lap dash, although it's a slightly bigger circuit. It'd be a 3-lap dash of say at my local velodrome, which is Herne Hill Velodrome. 3-lap dash of Herne Hill, which is 400 meters, 450 meters. Often on the track, it's a cagey race. People tend to ride together for the first 2 laps, and then someone will wind it up for the last lap. But I have seen people, in fact, I've done it myself. I've seen people just catch everyone by surprise and go for it from the very first. And if you can maybe get away with one other strong rider, especially if it's a heat and you're competing for say the first two to go through to a final or a semi-final, it can often catch people by surprise. And on track, if you've only got say 5 riders in a heat and 2 of you get away, it's not easy for the 3 others to catch you in 3 laps. So you can try and maintain that position. So I'm just going to give them a little briefing now about this race. So I'm going to put that on screen. Race 2, random dash. So as I'm just saying to the riders there on screen, it's a random dash. So this is a staggered start. They'll go groups of 3 at 10-second intervals, and the draft is on. So the starting order is dependent on the order of joining the server, which means, we'll see how it goes. Whoever gets me and the ZMS cameras is a bit unlucky, because it means they'll have 1 place down in their group. 10-second intervals, and it should be 10-second intervals should be enough for a strong rider to maybe catch a group ahead. It should be possible for some of the groups behind to also catch them. And if they can catch a wheel, then they'll be able to surf that wheel to the end. This course is the Preston Park course. Preston Park, I think Paul Nichols, who does a lot of Magic Roads, did this course. Preston Park is an outdoor, well, they call it a velodrome. I shouldn't be rude. I mean, I personally not sure that it's counts as a velodrome to me, because it hasn't really got a lot of banking. It's got 1 slightly banked corner. It was, but it does claim to be the oldest working velodrome in the world, certainly oldest in the UK. It's 600 meters long. It was dug out for some reason, I don't know why, by the army in 1880 something, so it was sort of in the early days before velodromes were really standardized, before there was really just outdoor cycle racing. At that point there were no indoor velodromes. So they dug out this track in Preston Park, which is just near Brighton, in the south coast of England. And it's continued, apart from a short period a few years ago when there was some safety issues with the fencing at Preston Park. Had to be closed for a couple of years, and there was a fear that it wouldn't be reopened. But there was a sort of community movement. A lot of people supported it to come back together and get the fencing fixed and get it reopened. That saved Preston Park, and it's now used. It's used by a lot of local clubs and races. I've raced there myself, so I'm just giving them a little bit more briefing on screen, just telling them everyone starts in groups of 3. So what have we got now? Well, it says 2:32, but that will be my start time. There we go. Jakob Skovsgaard. Jakob, where is Jakob? I see he's left a message there. Jakob is a regular at TNT. Not sure where he is tonight, why we don't have the pleasure of his company tonight. I'm just gonna, here we go, take some, see who I can follow. I'm usually pretty good at working out who to follow in these races. So I'll follow Soren here. I'm just looking to see what I think the order is. If we go across the screen, who we've got? Jason is lined up there next to I think Hakan, Chris Little. So that should be the first group. Then we've got Rasmus. Who else is there? I'm not really seeing all the names as we go across the screen, but there's some pretty strong groups there, and they'll start going off soon. My group I'm in has 1 minute 15 to go, but I think the first ones will go on like that too. There's Camille saying, I wish we had races like that on weekends. Well, I'd love to do more, but honestly, Camille, it takes a lot of effort to set these up. I'm happy to do them if people come, but it's a bit of chicken and egg, isn't it? What I'd really like to do actually is to do this in different categories. It's great that we have all the strong riders like Rasmus and Jason and so on, and obviously they enjoy the races. I'd like, if we had enough, to do 2 categories. A bit like what we do that at Track League. We have A, B, C, we have Masters races. Okay, there goes the first group there. So Jason, Hakan and Chris going off together. So this will be 3 laps of Preston Park. So that makes it 1,800 meters. So there we got Rasmus, Fleming and Paul Watmow. That's a pretty strong group to go off there. Who's next? Jeff, Kevin, and I didn't catch the third name there. Was it Soren? And there's I'm getting my message, and the ZMS cameras and me going off. So we're not going to get much of a good time there. And I think there's a group behind us. So, yep, there we go. Antonsen, Didier, and Trevor going off in a group. And Trevor's already... So, here we go. I'm going to trot back to the front of the race. So, Jason's group is staying together. Jason, Chris, Hakan, there's Kevin. He's already... So, he's dropped his group there. He's, I think, come ahead of Jeff and Soren. Will he catch the group ahead and get a bit of a draft from them? That's one of the good things about using Preston Park. There's Chris Little, I think, has already come round and is about to come up to, not really lapping this group because they started behind, but he'll get a bit of an advantage from the draft there. So here's Trevor, Anderson and Didier. I think that's their first lap done. So, yep, they've got 1.2 kilometers to go. Excuse me. Here's Rasmus. So this group's catching one of the slower groups that started behind them. That was Rasmus, Fleming and Paul. They look to still be together, working there. So that's a super strong group there. I don't envy Paul trying to stay on the wheel of Rasmus and Fleming. So here's the Hansen and what's that? Okusunglu, Turkish name there. Apologies for my pronunciation. They've got 1 lap to go. And here's the first group, Little, Kutlika. They're coming up to the final 100 meters, and they will finish in 40, 50, 30 meters, and we'll check on their times. And there's Rasmus and Fleming. They look to have caught up definitely more than 10 seconds on that group ahead. So they will have a fast time there. And after this one, we'll get a better sense of who's doing well in the Omnium once we see who's got the top places. So I think we've still got a few riders out on course. I see Jeff Goldberg still out there. They're just coming up to the finish now, crossing the line. The Antonsen Didier group is still out on course. It's over pretty quickly. That's one of the things I like about track, both in RGT and in real life. The races are over nice and quickly. If you don't do well in a race, well, you've got another one along in a few seconds. A few minutes, and you get another chance. And of course, not everybody. This one thing that I always try to do with the TNT races is mix it up a bit. So, if you're a really, really strong power rider, you're going to do well in these. We usually have some sort of sprint race. This isn't quite a sprint. 1.8 kilometers. It's a little bit more than a true sprint. Sometimes we do like a 500 meter sprint. I use the Champs-Élysées course, the finish of the Tour de France, for that one. Sometimes we do a flying lap. using a velodrome course. I've got a couple of courses that were modelled for the Ikigai series on the Tokyo, sorry, not Tokyo, the Izu outside of Tokyo for the Tokyo Olympics. There's an indoor velodrome of 250 meters and an outdoor one of 400. So we often use those as a sprint for. I mean, the flying lap is a classic track event. Unfortunately, it's fallen out of the Olympics. It used to be part of the Omnium previous to this Olympics. They changed the Omnium format. But the flying lap. So the flying lap was another one where the rider went out, had 3 laps, but their time was taken on the final 200 meters. So the idea was to really just try and wind up your speed so that as you hit that 200 meters, you were absolutely flying and get the fastest time. And you're talking about times of under 10 seconds for the 200 meters. Really, really fast and super power from those guys. So we do a flying lap, obviously not with 3 laps, but we do it using the staggered start format, and that suits the sprinters. So we try and mix things up a bit to have different types of races. Obviously, scratch is pretty much a standard one. Usually some sort of sprint race, some sort of longer effort, like a time trial effort, and then usually some sort of elimination race. Tonight, that's going to be a points elimination race. So just looking at the results there of that random dash, that group of Bach, Feldball and Watmar did really well. They got a super time there, 2:17 for Fleming, 2:18 for Rasmus, so reversing the result of the first race, so they'll be even in the Omnium. Paul coming in 3rd place there. And then that other group, wow, they finished all together. So Hakan, Jason and Chris finishing all together there. So that's the advantage. If you've got, say, Paul, he's a very strong rider, but I think is probably no stronger than, say, Jason or Chris. But Paul had the advantage there of being in that group with Fleming and Rasmus and got a 5-second lead. We've got Yaya Oxuzoglu and Hansen. That was a good time. They were one of the later groups, and that's a good time for them. They worked strongly. And there we go. Jason is Jason. Sorry if I was saying Jeff before. At the end there with Aurelian and Jimmy Trevor. Soren Crow in 11th, Kevin in 10th, Anderson in 9th, Hansen in 8th. So that's our results for the random dash. Let's have a look now and see. So I think we're pretty clear that Fleming and Rasmus are going to be the people ahead on the Omnium, but I can check who's going behind them. So in the Omnium, we've got Rasmus and Fleming, both on 3. So by virtue of Rasmus finishing 1st and 2nd, and Fleming finishing 2nd and 1st. So they're tied for 1st place. We've got Paul, Paul, Hakan and Jason all on 9 points. So Paul's had a 6th and a 3rd, Hakan 5th and 4th, Jason 4th and 5th. So it's pretty close there. And then Chris and Kenneth Antonsen on 17, Jimmy Trevor on 19, Soren Crow on 20, Kevin Unsworth 22, Jan Hansen also 22, Aurelian also 23. So close, and Jason on 27. Frank, who came 3rd in our first race, didn't compete in the random dash, so he doesn't score in the Omnium. You've got to do all 4 to score in the Omnium. And Yaya Oxuzoglu also just did the random dash. So looks like he's lining up for the 3rd race there, but he won't get an overall Omnium score. He still gets the fun of competing. So I'm just going to give them a quick briefing there. Race 3 is simple TT. And let me give them some scores there. after those 2 races, so I just need to tap away on my phone so I can tell them the scores and talk at the same time. So apologies if it's a little bit random for the next minute or two. Who was after 2 races? So we've got Fleming and Rasmus tied on 3. Then we have Paul, Hakan, and Jason all on 9. So it's close. Great. Yeah, I see Damon, super ZMS producer Damon, has managed to bring up the results there from the RGTDB website. RGTDB, I'm sure you all are familiar with it, but it's absolutely fantastic. I'm so grateful to them for doing the Omnium scoring. I think I'm probably the only one who uses it, but it's great, and it means that I can do the results really quickly, which is fantastic. The only one that won't be able to do so quickly tonight is the last one, the points race, which requires a bit of manual manipulation. So this is a simple TT. It's on the Mugello GP circuit, which is in Italy. It's 5.26 kilometers. I often use the TT circuits for my TTs. Sorry, I often use the Formula One circuits for my TTs because they're a good length. I mean, with doing 4 races, I try to get them all done in an hour, and that means, usually having something that's going to last. The races longest that a race would usually last in TNT is about 12 or 13 minutes. That's what I aim for. And of course, one of the difficulties is, because I have to schedule the races all together, I need to, make a judgment about the time. So I need to give people, 4 or 5 minutes to get their breath back and get ready for the next race, but not make it so long that they get all cooled down and waiting, which, can be difficult when you're trying to schedule it for strong riders like, Rasmus and Fleming, and then some of the weaker riders. But, I try to do it for everybody, and in some ways, as an organizer, it's great to see those riders, Fleming and Rasmus and Jason, they get a thrill out of being at the top and lining up to win races. But it's the people who never win but come back week after week that really make organizers happy, because we think they're coming back because they enjoy the races, they enjoy the format. And it's only on RGT that you can do a lot of these formats. It's fantastic. It was just around Christmas last year that they brought in the elimination and some of the other variations, and I've had great fun experimenting with them. Like you saw in the random dash, it's a time trial, but it has draft on. I've come up with 13 different variations of races, and as soon as they add some more options, I'll try and invent some more. Okay, so we've got about 20 seconds to go now until the start of race 3, TT, 5.3 kilometers. Usually this ends up being, Fleming is a very strong time trialist, as is Rasmus, so I'd expect them, Jason as well. What you tend to see here is people who often go off very fast at the beginning, but will then find that they have trouble keeping that momentum all the way through. Jason there is in 5th place, Fleming in 4th, Hakan in 3rd, Paul in 2nd, Rasmus in 1st. So I suspect that someone like Jason is going to move up. He's very good at measuring his effort across the duration of the race. So Rasmus there doing steady 370 watts on power, occasionally just easing off. There was a bit of an uphill at the beginning, but now we're at a fairly flat, slight drag up. And I'm sure Rasmus, being a very experienced and strong rider, will be able to measure his effort across the whole event. So Paul there in 2nd place, being shadowed by Hakan. And you often see these little battles taking place. As I said, in the Omnium, everything matters. They're coming into one of the little drags up now. What do we get? I think it gets up to 5 or 6%. And oh, there we go. It's getting more than that. Sorry, about 7%. In a TT, it's actually more important. This is true in both in real life and in RGT. If you're planning a TT, it's best. So there's Fleming. So that's a good example there. Fleming there doing 400 watts, a bit more going up that climb. And you'll get more benefit from doing bigger watts up the climbs than you will from doing a constant effort, whether you're on a climb or a descent, because you'll lose more time on the climbs. There are a couple of websites, if anyone's into time trialing, there are websites that can help you plan this. There's one that I've used before called Best Bike Split. So if you're, for example, if your FTP is say 300 watts, and you've got a bit of a lumpy course, there's Jimmy Trevor, who's putting out some decent power there. Just going to see what part of the course. No, I can't quite see what incline he's on, but he's in the red there, presumably going up one of the climbs. So taking the advice there. Yep, they're all coming to the top of that little climb now. They've got a bit of a respite. So there we see Jason moving up a bit, as I predicted. He's going past Okusuzoglu now, and he'll be moving up. Can't quite see the distance between him and the next rider. There's Kenneth Anderson, also doing good power. He's easing off a bit now, but I think that's because he's coming down the hill. The trick is to keep your power going. Here's Soren Crow. He's doing about 250 watts, about 47 kilometers an hour. His heart rate, he's certainly working. His heart rate's gone right up there, 177. Chris Little, racing under the flag of Antarctica there. He's also up there, 169 heartbeat, 260 watts. I suspect that's heartbeat's going to go down. Heart rate's going to go down a bit as he comes down off the incline. Jan Hansen, similar heart rate, 166. Bouncing around there a bit, 250 to 300 watts. Seems to be steady at about mid 200 and 250. And yeah, a lot of speed there, 60 kilometers an hour coming down that hill. And Jason Goldberg there also doing 60 kilometers an hour. It seems to be coasting down the hill. Not sure why we're not seeing a power reading for, oh, there he goes. He's kicked in now, 430 watts. Meanwhile, at the front of the race, so they're coming down this little descent, then they have another climb, which will also go up to 9-10%. So that's going to take it out of them as well. So Rasmus still in the lead there. He's extended his lead. What's he got? 140 meters. So Rasmus looks to have this pretty much sewn up. It's hard to see Hakan making up more than 110 meters over they're just over halfway now. The first half is definitely the hardest part of this TT. But it's going to be a great race there for second and third. Hakan and Fleming have been shadowing each other. They're not drafting, the draft is off, but often you can just go along and think, well, I'm going to shadow this guy, I'm going to try and keep with him, use him as a pacemaker, and try and sprint past at the end. So it looks like they're planning to do that. Hakan and Fleming there trading places. Of course, in a real they would not be, you're not allowed to draft in a real TT, and their marshals on course will report anybody for drafting. If somebody comes up to overtake you in a real TT, you're supposed to move aside and not draft their wheel as they come through. It does sometimes happen though that you catch up on somebody again and you're not trying to draft them, but you just naturally catch them up and sometimes you leapfrog each other during the race. So there we have was it Jimmy Trevor going into the red there as he comes up to the top of this little rise. And there's behind him Antonsen. He's 26, so there's some clear gaps here. So the placings, I mean, well, no, he's 26 meters. He could make that up. He's got about, he's got 1.7 kilometers. If he sets his mind to it, he could certainly try and make that up. There's Rasmus. Rasmus coming up, should be coming up to the 1 kilometer to go mark pretty soon. So I'm not sure. We don't seem to have a red kite on this one. So Rasmus now in the last kilometer. He's got a 200-meter lead over Fleming. So Rasmus is going to go into the last event with a slight lead in the Omnium, and looks like Fleming behind him there, looking at the meters, has got about 20 meters on Hakan. So Fleming looks like he's secure in his second place. I was going to say, if Hakan could snatch second place from Fleming, that would make it a lot harder for Fleming to overtake Rasmus in the Omnium. But it looks like they'll be going into the final event with one place between them. So very much all to play for in the final event. So Rasmus coming up to the line now. He's got only a few hundred meters to go. Fleming kicking in behind there. He's got a clear 30-40 meter. He's obviously not been he's not been keeping anything. I'm sure he's been putting in pretty good effort. I mean, sitting at 4.5 watts for the best part of 8 minutes is not easy. But he's saved something. He's not going to get overtaken at the end, and he's going to come in comfortably in second place. So Rasmus there, just about to cross the line. He's in his last 30-40 meters. Here we go. Rasmus takes the win there in, I didn't quite catch the time. We'll check that in a second. Just about 8 minutes, I think. Fleming coming in now in second place. 8:17. Time doesn't really matter. It's the placing that matters in the Omnium. Hakan there in third place. Jason didn't quite make it up to catch him. That's a really good ride from Suzoglu there. And Anderson. Now, he was behind Trevor before, wasn't he? So he's overtaken Trevor. I didn't see the names leap and Trevor coming up there. So that was a good ride from Antonsen there to secure an extra placing, sixth place ahead of Jimmy Trevor. Here comes Jan Hansen in eighth place, still pretty close. I mean, he's less than a minute behind the winner there. Soren Crow in ninth place. Oh, Chris Little trying to sneak up a place there. That was a sneaky one. He tried so hard, but that was just a couple of meters on the line that he couldn't quite. But in the Omnium, you've got to fight for your place. And here comes Jeff Goldberg. How far has he got to go? He's got about 200 meters to go. I'm seeing just in my messages, Paul who did well in the random dash there, has sent a message to say his power was reading high, he feels. So he's going to pull out of the races, which is unfortunately. I mean, Paul perfectly capable of doing that sort of ride. So I think Jeff might be having. Oh, Jeff's giving us a wave. Hey, sorry, Jason. I keep saying Jeff. Sorry, Jason's giving us a wave there as he crosses the line. He'll be the last rider to cross the line. Big wave to ZMS. Nice one, Jason. Okay, we're going to go to the final race now. I'm going to load those results in RGTDB so that we can get the Omnium scores. And I'm going to jump across to the final race, which is the points race. Okay, just getting on here. So I'm obviously watching this on the ZMS screen as you are. I'm also watching it on my screen at home so that I can communicate to the riders. So track can be a little bit confusing. So I usually try and brief the riders on what's happening in the races. If I'm not doing commentary, I also give them a little bit of encouragement and so on during the race. So during this race, I'm going to have to be multitasking and keep track of who wins each of the elimination laps. I'll explain that in a second as soon as I finish importing. Yep, I've got all the results in for the previous race so that I can calculate the Omnium results and tell everybody where they are. So we've got Rasmus on 4 points. He's in first place. We've got Fleming on 5. He's in second place. Then we've got, it's still pretty close. So Hakan on 12. Jason on 13. So very much places to fight for. I'm going to give them a bit of encouragement there. Okay, so what have we got? 6 minutes left to go for the final points race. So how does the points race work? The points race in RGT works by using the elimination format. Elimination, or devil as we often call it. I think that seems to be a British and Australian thing, as in devil take the hindmost. So the devil, or the elimination race, works by the last rider across the line on an elimination lap is eliminated. In real life, it's often a really crazy race because if you've got to think about a velodrome, they're not that wide, and you can have in a high level event, you can have 30 or 40 riders all trying to cram into a very narrow space, and the straight often sort of narrows off as they come off the banking, so it can be quite hairy. And if you get caught at the back, well, there's just nowhere you can go. You've got riders in front of you, you've got riders beside you, and you can't do much. So it can often be quite, elbow to elbow. It can be really quite physical racing in an elimination race on the track. So we use the elimination format that RGT has developed, and as far as I know, RGT is the only one who does the elimination. But I've modified it a little bit so that it becomes a points race. In a points race, in a real life points race, usually every 4 laps, they're often quite long races. They can go up to 80, 100 laps at the elite level. Every 4 laps, there will be a sprint lap, a points lap. The first rider across the line scores 5, second scores 3, third scores 2, and fourth scores 1. And the points are totaled up throughout the race. And it's just not possible for riders at that level to win all the sprints. So the points get shared around a bit. But what also happens in a points race, doesn't usually happen on here, but in a real life points race, you get 20 points. So it's worth winning 4 laps by lapping the field. Because in elite cycling, the indoor velodromes are only 250 meters long. So it is not easy, but it is possible to break away and actually go around and catch the field again. Once you catch the field, you go back into the bunch and you compete for the sprint points. But when the commissaire tells you that you've caught the bunch, you get 20 points. Everybody who catches the bunch and does the lap gets 20 points. So it can be really hard to follow. You're often not sure who's where, and the riders, have the benefit now of looking at the points boards that are up on big video screens, and being able to see, who their rivals are and who they need to chase. What we're doing here, obviously in RGT, I can't tell if somebody laps the field, then actually everyone gets eliminated. So that doesn't work. But what I do, and I also don't know the order that people cross the line. I'm hoping that someday I will know, because clearly it would be possible within the RGT program to know who crossed the line, because actually the riders get a message on their heads-up display that they started the elimination lap in place 7 of 15. So the places are there, they just don't get displayed to me as an organizer, unfortunately. What I do see, though, is who initiates the elimination lap. So when an elimination lap starts, a message comes up on screen that says, so-and-so, whether that's, Chris, Fleming, Rasmus, whoever, initiated the elimination lap. And that effectively means they cross the line first on the lap before the elimination, or to start the elimination lap. So I take that and give that as the points to the winner of that lap. And we use the elimination order, but I move everybody up. I move the winner up 2 places for each lap that they win. So if you win a lap, you move up 2 places. That's basically what it boils down to. You get 2 points. There's a different type of race that I do called a tempo race, where I actually don't even use the elimination order. We just go on people who take laps. But in this one, it's a combination of the elimination and the points. So for instance, if you finished in, say, 10th place in the elimination, but you had won 3 laps, you would move up 6 places, 3 times 2. Obviously, it also depends on what other people are doing. So maybe if somebody who finished 6th had scored 2 points, then they would move up to 2. So it's a bit of a juggling act at the end. Essentially, you just try to win laps, and if you can't win laps, you try to finish as high as possible. As I said, track can be very confusing. That's why at track there's usually a commissaire who gives a briefing before each race, and I sort of try and do that with the commentary and the text that I use for the riders. Okay, and what course we're using here? This is my velodrome. This is Herne Hill Velodrome. It's been built by RGT as a magic road, and it was the first one they did when they introduced these track style races. But I actually live in South London. Herne Hill Velodrome is my local. I've often raced there, and I'm no longer racing now. I still go there to help organise. So we're about to start this race. We'll keep going until the end. Here we go. First, so we've got 2 laps, neutral laps, and then it's an elimination lap after that. I'm just going to change my screen here so that I can watch the riders. So we've got a bit of a, we've got a nice bunch there staying together. I'm not sure that I remembered to explain to them. I better put it on the screen now and hope that they see it. Most of these guys have done it before, so they should know what's happening. Sorry about that, guys. But you'll work it out. And anyway, it's all a bit of fun. So we've done the first lap. That's the last positioning lap initiated there. You see the message on the screen, and we've still got a decent bunch together. And again, in real life, an elimination race tends to not be quite as frantic as the ones on RGT. Online racing is just generally a bit more high-powered, isn't it? What tends to happen is the bunch keeps a steady pace, and then there's a bit of a gallop as you come up to the line, so that people aren't eliminated. But it looks here like Fleming's going for it from the beginning. Oh wow, Fleming! He's Yep. No, there you go. I'm being lapped and eliminated. That's not a surprise because I'm not racing. So Fleming there takes the first point by initiating the elimination lap. So I'll mark him down for 1 lap. We've got Oksuzoglu in 2nd place there. He's trying to come up to Fleming. So I've set this one, and again, in the eliminations, I tend to vary the races. So this one is 2-2-2, so 2 neutral and 2 riders out every second lap. So I was actually hoping we'd have a few more people tonight because it's been quiet over summer. Things are building up a bit now, but I think also there's a lot of races on, a lot of competition. Here's Anderson going for the lap. Here he's sprinting towards the line. Is he going to take the lap? Oh, he's coming around the corner. I think he's too far out. Who's there taking over? It's Fleming. Fleming is looks like he's going to take this lap, although he's not quite there yet. Who's coming? Oh, he's been pipped at the line. Anderson came back. Nice. Oh, that was an excellent effort there. And, you know, part of the tactic in the points, I'm just going to send a little message there. Great effort. Well done. Well done. Nice to see Fleming not getting it all his own way. And Anderson has gone out. And that can often happen in an elimination race, and indeed in the points race, that the bunch tends to sort of relax a bit after the points lap or after the elimination lap, and it's often the time when somebody can get away, especially in the points race. Less so in the elimination, because actually on the real track you can't take a lap in the elimination. If you do take a lap in the elimination, you can actually be more at risk of being eliminated, because at some point you're judged to be part of the bunch, or the bunch is judged to be the head of the race. And if you're at the back of that bunch, you are then eliminated. I've actually seen that happen in real life. So Anderson here is doing really well. Some people are, you know, a bit of specialists at the Devil. They love the Devil. Personally, when I was racing, always loved the Devil. I was usually pretty good at the Devil, partly because, Jason, I think, yes, nice one. Partly because I'm not really a great sprinter, but I am a sort of strong, steady rider, and often in real life, you can sit at the front and everybody's quite happy to sit on your wheel. But if you're at the front, okay, you're putting in more effort, but you know that, you know, you've just got to stay there, and as long as there's someone behind you, you're not going to get eliminated. So you might not win the race, but sometimes you do. And sometimes you do because people turn off behind you, switch off, and you know, the stronger riders get eliminated. It only takes a moment of inattention here to be eliminated in the elimination race. So, you know, if nothing else, you at least get up to the final placings. And in the elimination race in real life, the first 6, as in with all track events, the first 6 are usually awarded points at the final lap. So if you can stay around until you're in the top 6, you're going to be in the points. And if you're, you know, racing a track league, oh wow, Fleming has been eliminated. That's an amazing result there. I didn't even see that when that came up. Fleming eliminated in 11th place. That's a disaster for his Omnium hopes. He could be overtaken by Jason here. I haven't seen where Rasmus is either. He's not in this bunch that we're looking at. Paul has obviously sorted out his power meter issues and has come back to race this final race. Haven't seen Rasmus. He might be behind this bunch. So we've got a bunch now of Jason, Hakan, Antonsen, and Watmo is just behind them. That's quite an extraordinary result. So who's going to take this one? We're coming to the last corner on this elimination lap. They're going to start sprinting. Antonsen, he was really going for this one. Well, no, he's going to get taken, looks like, by Paul for this one. We come up. I hope I haven't missed a lap, have I? I thought we were headed to the elimination there, and that would be a terrible thing if between looking at the 2 screens I've missed someone's effort. No, it looks like Anderson's coming up to take the elimination. Here we go. Anderson, well done. That's 2 there. So in the RGT, well, both the RGT and the real life versions, you usually go down to the final 3 riders, although sometimes you can go down to the 3 on the lap, and the third person gets eliminated, and the final 2 fight out the final lap. In RGT, it goes down to the final 3, and they fight out the final lap. So I'm not sure how many are left on the course. I see we've got 7 eliminated. I think we might be pretty close now to getting eliminated. I see Jason, Soren still out there. I don't think that Soren, I see, is just jumping across from Jason. I don't think it's going to help him because it'll be 2 eliminated. So it looks like Soren and Jason Goldberg will be eliminated off this lap. There we go. Soren Crow crossed the line and has been eliminated, and Jason Goldberg crossed the line last and has been eliminated. But that's good efforts from them. So now we're down to the final 4, so we'll get an elimination from this group. We'll have 1 more elimination lap, and then they'll fight out the final lap together. This is not, yes, it is the eliminator. Oh wow, Anderson is making a, yes, this is I love about all the different races. So Anderson, he's done well, but he hasn't done, hasn't been right up there in the previous 3 races, but suddenly he's come into his own in the Devil and done really well. So Watmar and Hakan Kutluka are now powering away, trying to go for these final points and laps. But Anderson has taken 3 laps. Nobody else is, Fleming and Jason PDQ have taken 1 each. So Anderson looks like he's going to do well there. There's Kutluka initiating the final lap, so he'll get a point for that. I'm not sure who will be eliminated. Anderson's eliminated there as he crosses the line in 4th place, but I think he is our definite winner of the points race. Well done. So Kutluka and Watmar will fight out the last lap, and Jason PDQ, who I know does a lot of track actually. I think he's based over in Bristol. I've seen on his Facebook page he's organising some events down at the Newport Velodrome, which is in Wales, a very small velodrome. Kutluka wins. So well done. Here's Watmar in 2nd place and Jason in 3rd. So that's it. I'm just going to say, well done, Antonsen. Oh, that doesn't go down well. There we go. Okay, so that's it. That's all our races. So Rasmus, I don't think, did that final race, which is going to throw the Omnium into confusion. I'm just going to have a quick look here at the points, but it's too much for me to try and work it out now. It would have been nice and easy if Rasmus had done that one, and Fleming, and I've still got to adjust them for the points. But it could mean I think Jason, just by virtue of being the one who's done the 4 races, but Hakan took a lap and won the race. So I think Hakan might end up being our winner with Jason behind. But I will adjust those. I have to do a bit of manual mucking about and work it out in the event. So that's it. That's our 4 races. The results of the Omnium will be on RGT DB when I've worked out this final race. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed the races. I hope you've enjoyed my explanations. There's the results of race 4 there. Hakan, as we said, Hakan, Paul, Jason PDQ, Kenneth Anderson, who will actually be the winner of that race by virtue of the 3 laps that he scored. Soren Crow, Jason, Chris, Yaya, Jan, and Fleming. It's happened a few times. Fleming's turned off in that elimination race. There you go. Got to stay awake. Okay, so yeah, we'll check what the final results are. I won't be able to do that while we're online because I have to make some changes. And but there you go. I think it'll be Hakan and Jason pretty much up the top there. Fleming had a bit of a disaster. So that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching on behalf of Damon and ZMS. TNT is on every week, Tuesday Night Track, that's what TNT stands for. And of course, ZMS has lots of fantastic races, which are all heating up now that RGT and the various platforms are getting busy for the winter as the weather closes in. So thank you very much, good night, and I hope to see you again. Cheers.